Tips for dieting to lose weight. That's the topic of this week's video. And I'm going to share with you really a conversation that I had with a client recently who has lost now over 4.5 stone. And while she's lost over 4.5 stone, it hasn't been a smooth ride coming down all the time. There's been times where she's come down and then plateaued and come down, plateaued for a period of time and plateaued. And we were discussing in a call how she was going to go about making it a little bit more consistent. Because typically she was losing anywhere between 1.25 pounds to maybe 1.5 pounds, occasionally 2 pounds a week. And then she might plateau, as I said, for a couple of weeks and then she starts losing again. And she really wanted to make some adjustments that would enable her to be able to lose weight consistently week in and week out. So we had this conversation. I'm going to share with you 3 really powerful things I believe that can help you to improve your diet if you implement them as I'm going to suggest, or you modify them slightly, or just take the principle away of what I'm discussing and start to use it within your own lifestyle. And these are 3 tips that really came out of, I'd say, predominantly her head, although it's been an ongoing conversation we've had now for many months as I've been coaching her. So number 1 was reducing her carbohydrate intake. And what we discussed was, first of all, what sort of carbs was she eating? And she likes rice, she likes bread, she likes pasta, and a variety of other carbohydrates. But specifically, it was pasta and rice were the 2 things that she would eat a fair bit of, her and her husband. So we got to talking about that. And one of the challenges that she had was trying to work out actually how much rice or pasta she ate when she put everything into a big bowl, a big sort of plate of food that was all mixed in, rice and pasta all mixed in, how much she was having versus how much her husband was having. And it's difficult to work that out because on the one hand you could say, well, just have less, have a smaller amount and give your husband a little bit more. But the problem then is husband starts to gain weight. So basically whatever she would cook, it would be split 50-50 and they would have half each. So what she decided she would try and do is reduce the amount of carbohydrate that she cooked. So she looked at the dry weight of the rice or the pasta and reduced it by anywhere between 20 and 30 grams. So that was one thing that she did. So it basically meant they were eating less carbohydrate. And if you reduce your intake by 20 grams, 30 grams, you're not going to notice that really, especially when it's things like starchy carbs. You're not going to notice that massively. And the other thing we spoke about was, because you're reducing the amount of carbs that will be on your plate, you're going to have a bit more empty space. Increase your vegetables or your salad or whatever you're accompanying that meal with. Just increase it a little bit so it doesn't appear that your plate's got smaller. Because again, psychologically, if you look at your plate, certainly for me anyway, if I look at my plate and there's lots of space there, that doesn't fill me with any joy really. I like to sit down to a nice plate of food. Typically it's made up of mainly vegetables and salads, but I don't want to sit down and be staring at a plate sort of like Nouvelle Cuisine style where there's loads of space around there. Psychologically that doesn't really work for me. I like to have a good meal. So that was the first thing that she was going to do and introduced. The second thing was she's got a variety of meals that she eats throughout the week, all made up of proteins, fats and carbs. So the balanced meals, good nutrition. Some are slightly higher in terms of calories, some are slightly lower. So she decided what she would do is try and eat some of the more low calorie meals that she's got on her menu planner. So instead of having maybe 1 or 2 a week, she decided she'd up it to maybe 3 or 4 per week. And again, the good news about that is she's eating meals which she's already eating. She's just eating them more frequently, the low calorie meals. So it's not a huge shift in terms of what she's doing. It's quite a subtle shift. She's just having a low calorie meal maybe, say, 3 or 4 times a week as opposed to 1 or 2 times per week. So that was the second thing she did. Then the third thing that we spoke about her doing was having those low cal meals where possible on a weekend, because like most people, and I'm certainly like this myself, but the weekend tends to disrupt your eating pattern somewhat, because if you're a working person, you wake up, you have breakfast, you go to work, you have lunch, you come home, you have tea. There's a set routine. But on a weekend, things change and your eating pattern can go out the window. So she decided that what she would do is introduce 2 low-cal meals on a weekend, which basically meant she's now negating any excess food that she might have, or indeed if she had excess food in the past on top of a high-calorie meal, she's now made a bit of a compensation there by making sure she has 2 low-calorie meals on the weekend, or low-calorie menus for the whole weekend, and then any little nibbles that might come in are kind of like already accounted for, so she's not going over the number of calories that she would like to consume in order to be able to lose weight. So there's 3 really simple things, and what I like about those things are they're not dramatic, they're not sensational. You know, these are things which you can introduce into your lifestyle and make them a lifestyle habit going forwards. And I think when you do that, that makes weight loss sustainable, or it certainly makes the weight you've taken off sustainable in terms of keeping it off, rather than doing some radical diet that can shift the weight very quickly, but then once the weight's gone, you go back to old eating habits. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because I say that came out of an actual coaching conversation that we had, those 3 tips, and that's the sort of stuff that I speak to clients about on a weekly basis, amongst other things. But when it comes to dietary stuff, we often talk about things that are really practical. We've got the foundational stuff in place, but then it's about the practical application of this stuff. So hopefully you found that of use, and if you would like some free recipes that are made up of just simple ingredients, there should be a link around this video. You can click on that link and it'll take you to my 5 ingredient recipes, which kind of supports what I've just been speaking about, and you can access that today. You go to the page, you've got to put your name and your email in, and you get instant access to that if you're interested in that. So hopefully you found that of some use, those 3 practical tips. Maybe you can take the ideas, the principles away, maybe look at your own diet and start to do something very similar. Just make some little subtle changes and see what impact it has on your overall, your health, your weight and energy levels, and let me know. Until next time, take very good care, and bye for now.